Hi folks, and in today's video what we're going to do is we're going to look at creating custom inputs in order for our player to move up, down, left and right. Now first of all, what you're going to need to do is make sure you have a player, main player and a game mode, and that your player default class is set to this player character. Then what we're going to do is we are going to create some custom inputs. In this case we need to go to settings and then project settings, and then if you scroll all the way down here under engine there's a button which says input. Now within input we can create some custom mappings which we can use to make our characters and pawns move around the game world. With this in mind we're going to have it moving left, right, up and down, so we're going to use something called an axis mapping. An axis mapping is different to an action mapping. An action mapping will literally say button is pressed, this event happens. An axis mapping will be this button is pressed, then an event happens which may or may not cause it to then change in some sort of floating point. So what we're going to do here is add our first axis, and we're going to call this up or forwards and backwards, just like so. Then we're going to start adding our custom inputs. So for now we'll use W, A, S and D. So W will be forwards, so that'll be a positive number, and S will be backwards when I find S. Here we go. So that'll be a negative floating point. Now if I add another axis, we'll call this left and right. What we'll then do is say A is of course going to be a negative scale in this case, and then D will be a positive scale to go right. Now if we then go to our player character, we should be able to call this information for forwards, backwards and left and right. So if I right click in our player event here, forwards, backwards, there we go, access event, fantastic, and left and right. There you go. So we want the events, not just the values at this moment in time. The values will just tell us that floating point. We want the actual event to be called for this to be able to work. So then what we're going to do is add movement input like so. Now for forwards and backwards we're going to want to change it on the X and just set that to a scale value for the axis value. Let's just drag this and move it out the way a bit. And now we'll do the same, add movement input for left and right. This time let's try it on the Y axis. Now if we compile, we go into our game, we can now move up, down, left and right. So we now have some basic player movement going on, and that's how you get your player to move with a custom input.